Gaucho is a hero, a legendary figure, larger than life. But these are the real gauchos, men who still live this life, the way of the gaucho.
If you change the rules of what controls you, you will change the rules on what you can control.
The way of the gaucho, the gaucho, the gaucho.
Dark Prisma is a haven for psychedelic trance music. Born in 2005 in Buenos Aires, Argentina, Dark Prisma would become a leading cutting-edge node and factory of psychedelic sounds. Spearheaded by Matthias aka Frantic Noise and Nicholas aka Megalopsy, this would also become the home for other Argentinian producers like Will-O-Wisp, Glossier and Pandora's Box. The beginning.
Bueno, aquí estamos con Megalopsy. ¿Con?
Matías.
¿Y con?
Con Nicolás.
Ay, qué lindos los nombres. Qué lindos nombres. Porque son humanos también ellos, aunque tengan nombres raros como todos los de Psytrance. Son seres humanos. Sí, sí. Bueno, van a hacer un set en vivo.
Esa onda es la que intentaremos hacer.
Bien. Bueno, los veo con teclados, está buenísimo. Bueno, ya los dejo con la música de Megalopsy.
Dark Prisma came out of the use of Buenos Aires, Argentina. Tuna de metalheads met around the north of the city in Buenos Aires. Their love for computers, music and alternative culture made them immediate allies, and they would begin to conspire together somewhere in 1998. Matthias aka Frantic Noise had formed a band together with his classmates called Illness. They were in need of a drummer. Matthias was the lead singer and was deeply influenced by rap, rock and nu metal. Nicholas aka Prisma did not know how to play drums but had played before in an industrial metal band and his uncle had a drum set. That was enough to make things happen and start off their friendship and collaboration. One random night they saw someone fiddling with Rebirth and that piqued their interest. It would be some months after experiencing electronic music and raves in Buenos Aires that Matthias would propose to Nicholas to start making psytrance together. But actually we are moving too fast.
We can go back to the beginning. Me before Megalopsy, before anything else, I learned how to do electronic music with a friend that his name was Salda. And Salda showed me finally how to make, we were doing more like Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails music. But that was my first steps into music. And then when I'm 15, 16 years old, I finally meet Matthias.
I think I discovered the love, at least for me, the love for music there. But then it wasn't so serious, you know. I don't know. It was just playing around, fucking around with. It was more about the experience of going there, smoking, and going into the sala de ensayos and just making noise. I don't know. It was fun. It was only fun.
Matthias and Nicholas met in the north of Buenos Aires, a mutual interest in alternative music, especially related to the underground scene of rap and metal in Buenos Aires with bands like Animal and Actitude Maria Marta, as well as a deep passion for technology and the internet culture of the 90s, made the ideal connection between them. Matthias had a natural talent with computers, tinkering with programming and overclocking since he was very young. His father, a DJ and music lover, had also left him with a wonder for audio in all its aspects. Nicholas had a very strong influence of alternative culture and music from his family and had already experimented with electronic music together with Solder, a close friend, who would invite him to play in his industrial metal band, which included working with synthesizers and samplers. Matthias and his classmates were already playing, and when they met Nicholas they invited him to be part as well. The band named Illness, full of influences from Korn, Deftones and Nirvana, did not last long, but it was the beginning of what would be a very important collaboration. The band fizzled out, but the friendship remained, as well as the hunger for creating art and music. Megalopsy, the origins. After starting to create their first electronic tracks together, Nicholas and Matthias finally christened their project as Megalopsy and decided to continue music production as well as their technology interests. This led to an era of a lot of internet activism, which saw the creation of websites that were early prototypes of what Dark Prisma would be. Matthias created 3 World Tracks, which was a hub for new Psytrance producers, and in 2003 Nicholas created Psytrance.com.ar, which would be the first digital portal for the whole scene of Argentina. This website included a forum, which would be the first time people could connect and have a common space to discuss what was still a very small scene. This is where we would see the first posts of the people who would become Glossalia, Will-O-Wisp and Pandora's Box. Their internet activism also brought them the chance to meet pioneer producers Mindprobe, as well as having connections with the underground electronic music and digital art scene. Finally being able to migrate from techno and house parties to proper serious open-air psychedelic trance events.
I don't know, it was the whole scene of people that were into nerding. It doesn't matter if it was hacking or ASCII or demos or music or just gaming, you know, we'd go there and meet all these people that were older than us, but also super interesting. Like they were like our idols in that moment.
I actually remember magical, no? To stay 2-3 days nerding out in some government building.
It was amazing, man.
After a couple years of music production and online activism, Matthias and Nicholas were ready to start playing in parties as well as organizing events that even included international artists like Neuromotor, Penta, Parahallu and more. They participated in the online streaming from pioneer website Buenos Aliens, as well as organizing many events under the name Psytrance.com.ar, as well as a collective called Los Monos del Espacio. Here we would see the seeds of what was going to become the Dark Psy community of Buenos Aires, popping up slowly in the forums of Psytrance.com.ar. Dark Psy was in its first moments of existence, and after releasing an independent demo online, Megalopsy was lucky enough to be discovered by German-Dutch label Trishula, which released their first track on their compilation via Ignis Fatuus in 2004, and their debut album The Abstract Machine in 2005. Side note.
Did you know that Megalopsy was actually 3 persons? Back in 2003, when Megalopsy was started by Matthias and Nicholas, they also had another friend called Alejandro, a very talented guitarist and overall crazy genius that worked on the production of The Abstract Machine. Unfortunately, due to many things, they stopped working together, but this might be a fact that is not known by many people.
Megalopsy had started the first steps of the dark psy scene of Argentina, and Matthias had all this time been nurturing his solo project Frantic Noise. Throughout the forum they could see that there were enough new artists to start something with a local flavor, which would end up in the creation of Dark Prisma Records in 2005. The first release would be a compilation called Amalgama that tried to group all the producers of Argentina at that time, including artists like Heterogenesis, Pragmatics and of course Frantic Noise, Megalopsy and more. Their second release would be Frantic Noise's debut album, The Nordland Orchestra, Side Note 2.
2005 would also be the first visit of Goa Gil to Argentina, playing for a very small crowd in a famous location called Futalafquan in the west of Buenos Aires. This was the location for Matthias and Nicholas's first outdoor psytrance event ever, as well as the location for their live debuts Megalopsy.
Breakthrough. 2006 marked the first international tours for Matthias and Nicholas in Europe and Mexico, and this would change their lives forever. They realized that finally there was a possibility to become real artists, and they went for it. Having attended Boom Festival in 2006, and having connected with all the real psychedelic trance scene, would have a lifelong effect on them. This brought a whole entire new dimension where they were able to play in real psychedelic events, meet real psychedelic artists, and live together with real psychedelic people.
And you said something like, hey man, go to the studio and hit play. I understood the difference of style, but not like that, bro. Not like going to the house of the guy and hitting play the keyboards. No. After I come back from that time of Europe, I become converted, after Boom, after meeting you guys. It's like I got a little of everything, how the scene could be, how you could live your life, how you should do the music, how you should behave, like I got like really good inspiration.
Enter dark psychedelic trance. 2007 started with the inevitable conversion to dark psy, and this affected the way they did parties. Nicholas started Ritual Alien as a consequence of the growth and connection of people through psytrance.com.ar as well as through their events. Suddenly there was enough crew, crowd and music to do only dark psy events. And they went for it.
Not only we were doing the music and the website, we also worked hard doing these parties, building up the deco. So in this forum, we slowly started to network with all the people that were interested in dark side. We started to meet all these guys that lived in the south of the city. So Dark Prisma is also very involved with the construction of the first moments of the dark side scene in Argentina. This is how we made the friendships and how we started to make the music and how we started to put more meaning into it.
This would be a golden era of events in Buenos Aires and around Argentina, where people like Irons shone in their deco construction, and artists like Glossia, Will-O-Wisp and Pandora's Box would make their first steps in playing their music live.
Here you can see one of the best decos that our friend Jons used to make for our parties. Here, Uriel and Jons really made one of the most astounding works. They made this pagoda that was super high.
This would also be the year where Dark Prisma as a family connected with many of the artists worldwide, having them as guests, with artists like Furious, Kindster, Tchaikovsky, Polyphonia, Zyke, Sonic Scissor and more. 2007 would climax with the visit of Goa Gil, where he played the most brand new and fresh dark psy possible. It would be in this time that the Dark Prisma crew started to feed off each other and inspire each other to make more music, to learn from the pros, to appreciate and understand each subgenre of dark psy, and to keep an open and fresh approach to music production. It would be this union and exchange that would help each of them develop their own unique sound and style.
We were making the music, but also we cared about the scene deeply, and we made all these websites and we started the label. And we had an independent way of doing things. Our parties had their own aesthetic. We all became more a family and we all started to work together. And also we started to share the music. That's why Dark Prisma is what it is, that's why it sounds like it sounds.
From 2007 to 2009, Dark's Prisma music would reach all the world with their releases as well as tracks in many compilations. While all the artists honed their skills in production and playing in events around Buenos Aires and Argentina, Nicolas and Matthias would participate in many parties in Europe, Mexico and Brazil, with the highlight being part of Psychedelica in Berlin for all the years of its duration. 2009 would be an epic year with the legendary moment of Cosmo, Kindster, Kashayek and Nicolas aka Megalopsy would play a spontaneous set in Psychedelica, showing a bit of how tight was the Dark Psy community in that time. The era of world tours. 2011 and 2012 mark big changes in the personal history of Dark Prisma, as Matthias moves to Costa Rica and Nicolas to Berlin. This move would make the possibility of them working together pretty much impossible, but would also open many new opportunities for all the crew to play in new places in the world. Here in the video you are seeing, you can witness a very special moment of wedding edition of Psychedelica in 2011 where Cray and Jesse got married. We also want to take this time to express our gratitude and love for Cray and all his crew for the love they showed us. We miss you, Cray. Special note, in the video you can see the moment where Nicolas acted as the priest in the dance floor wedding of the lovely couple. Psychedelica would end up being a major supporter of Dark Prisma and all the gauchos during all its duration. By this time, Dark Prisma had already unveiled their collaborative project, the Frattle Gauchos. They would unveil the project in Psychedelica in 2013 for the first time and present a completely new set done in 200 BPM, which included pitch-up tracks from their favorite artists together with samples of Argentina culture, turning the set into a very serious parody. 2013 single Quotes highlight would definitely be the first India tour of Megalopsy, Will-O-Wisp and Glossalia playing in many events as well as getting to know Goa for the first time. Martin and Nicolas would embark on an epic journey across India that included Rajasthan, Varanasi, Taj Mahal as well as visiting the Mahakumbh in Allahabad. But who are the Frattle Gauchos?
It has many questions and no answers.
Pandora's Box was started by Luciano, Valentine and David, hailing from Quilmes, deep in the south of Buenos Aires, although David would depart the project early. They were both naturally talented at music and had played in bands together mostly around the genres of hardcore, reggae and some experimental influences like Mr. Bungle and John Zorn. They were heavily influenced by the hardcore scene of Argentina, especially with bands like Fun People, and the solo project from their guitarist, Lucas, called Kasaifi. They were classmates and connected over their love for books, movies, music and everything that included alternative culture. They got involved with the psychedelic trance scene at a very young age and represented the spirit of a brand new wave. They started experimenting by themselves with Fruity Loops, but slowly after connecting with Nicolas, they learned how to use Ableton Live. Already from their first tracks their signature style was present, deep grooves, melted synth lines and psychedelic forest soundscapes. Their love for Durango and experimental music made them perfect to squeeze out a fresh new style that was dripping in ooze. Valentine and Luciano were heavily involved in the organization of many ritual alien events, as well as participating in concerts and shows for their own bands. They connected with Matthias and Nicolas and became the first artists to be part of the new direction of Dark Prisma. Their connection with Nicolas ended up in forming the project Abyssus, and they would end up working in many tracks together, including Psytrance and Downtempo. Valentine would be the one to travel and play in Europe and Brazil, while at the same time unveiling his solo project Vaven. Luciano also started his solo project as well called Luz Elefantes, producing one of his most wonderful compositions. Big changes would shift them away from music as both Valentine and Luciano would become fathers, but they are still holding a lot of music that must see the light of day. Will-O-Wisp. Gaston aka Will-O-Wisp, also hailing from the deep south city of Quilmes in Buenos Aires, was also a classmate of the Pandora's Box guys, but he became fascinated with electronic music from a very early age. He had his own direction when it came to music, and it was raves, festivals and parties that really caught his attention, making him a fan of projects like Daft Punk and attending many of the big electronic events that happened in the early 2000s in Argentina. It didn't take very long for him to be interested in being a DJ, and he would become DJ Pandemonix and played many events around Argentina, while at the same time nurturing and learning his craft together with Pandora's Box to create his project Will-O-Wisp. It was also clear from the first beat where his direction was going, and his influences from high-tech like early Osam and Noise Poison releases would become a lifelong reference for him. Gaston would also become part of the Psytrance.com.ar community, as well as help in the organization of many Ritual Alien events and connecting with Matthias and Nicholas, becoming the second artist to be signed to Dark Prisma Records. He would release his first album Puzzle Symphony on Dark Prisma in 2017. Gaston would become a powerhouse of tech and darksy, extending his reach all over the world with many tours and releases, collaborating with many of the top artists in the scene, as well as presenting his projects Mysterion exploring lower BPMs in darksy, Gizmo exploring Twilight music, and Quantum Mechanica together with Martin Glosselier. Around 2021 he would unveil his second album on Osam Music, as well as his new collaboration project Autogama together with Kindza.
My entrance to the scene was something that I will always keep in my mind forever, because I remember I was at a Goa Guild party. I was more like a Goa head, you know, listening to Hallucinogen, Coxbox and things alike. And their music struck me like a thunder, you know. I couldn't believe what was happening to me. So my main goal to enter to this was trying to share the feeling I have in the dance floor with everybody else, you know. That thing that was that electricity running through my hands, you know. Something that is in some sort of way impossible to describe with words. That something that maybe only music can achieve, you know. And I have this dream, this passion about it since very young. I'm extremely obsessive, and this helped me a lot to also go over a lot of issues of my life, music and things alike. I will always be grateful to this scene because I come from a very humble family and I travel all the fucking planet, and I know that this will never be possible in another way, you know. Like, literally music gave me wings that I never thought I could have. So I will eternally be grateful to this high-tech scene for that, whatever problems or beautiful moments will bring in the future, right?
Glosselier. Martin Glosselier was a bit of Deus Ex Machina moment for Dark Prisma. Most of them already knew each other from parties and the Psytrance.com.ar forum, but Martin seemingly came out of nowhere. Having been part of a new metal band called In Silico and being a very dedicated guitarist, Martin fell in love with all kinds of music, as well as in love with the possibility of doing music on a computer by himself. By the time he had connected with the Dark Prisma crew, he had nurtured his sound to a point far beyond what you would consider any beginner to be in. His music was by far one of the most avant-garde productions they had heard at that time. Absolute lover of Tchaikovsky and Alien Mental, as well as being influenced by psychedelic rock like early Pink Floyd and Syd Barrett, he combined all his power into bringing the brutal force that is Glosselier. Martin had experience playing guitar in a new metal band and had a natural affinity to gear and hardware dedicated to music and audio production. Around 2007 he would connect with the Dark Prisma crew, as well as starting his project together with Gaston Will-O-Wisp. And from there on, Glosselier would become one of the most intense experiences available in psychedelic trance. His skills and passion would end up making him one of the most complete musicians in psychedelic trance, with a myriad of side projects. Here we try our best to list them all. In psychedelic trance we have the aforementioned Quantum Mechanica with Will-O-Wisp, exploring high BPMs and all kinds of experimental psytrance. He also works together with Frantic Noise as Marauders, as has countless tracks with Nicolas as well as Fratal Gauchos. Martin Boda, exploring techno and cumbia, as well as having worked together with Prisma in an EP for Shaika Shaika. Luz Case Dos del Espacio, his psychedelic pop-rock band together with good friend Gallo in the drums. Fox Boulder, exploring all kinds of bass, Edmund more experimental styles. Flimpuff, his track producer persona, dropping heavy beats and lyrics.
The way I take some elements, but I don't want to label, because it's like you put yourself like in jail, you know, you close the key and you throw them away, you know, like for your creativity, you know, like it's just...
What is Glossolalia? What kind of music do you do?
I will just say it's just like rave music.
I like it.
So I just can like
cool.
incorporate whatever I want, and I don't feel like I should cater to some targeted audience specifically. And I know like maybe it's not like the most like popular thing to do, but like that's the part of the art also that we should like protect, because otherwise will be just like repeating itself all the time.
AI could do it.
And we cannot progress. Of course, but we cannot progress the music and the scene if we just like make the same thing forever. Also, like to take the new people that comes and younger generations, is like to send the message. We have to like, you know, like into what they make and not try to like in some scene or some group of people.
Frantic Noise. We already know about Frantic Noise's start together with Nicholas, and we know he moved out to Costa Rica in 2011. This would be due to the fact that his daughter would be born, and that would make his life change completely. There he would find his home as well as develop Frantic Noise to the next level. He would also pursue his career as an educator, starting workshops and classes that would end up being a huge part of his life. During 2020's lockdown, he would discover his love for streaming, as well as starting an online production school called Future Academy. In 2021, he would unveil a new venture dedicated to the creation of presets and tools for audio production, and he would start working as audio engineer, mastering and mixing all kinds of music. It would also be during these years that he would release 3 EPs full of collaborations and next-level audio production together with Pleiadian Records, the label of his good friend Audio Pataik. He also has a side project dedicated to bass music called Bass Habits, as well as his collaboration project with Glossolalia, Marauders.
Gaston said Craig's wedding was super nice. Nicolas was a priest to wed them, and I was in the text when Craig said like, yeah, blast it.
Exactly. I remember.
After they got actually married and they kissed and everything, they said yes. 2010 was it?
2010.
Yeah. The last 20 years for us were really good things happened. We traveled all over the world, we met really nice people, and we did with our friends all together through the good and the bad things, and it was really killer. Genres, styles, whatever, you're not doing it right.
Okay.
I mean, you have to do something new, you have to, it's the basic of music. You have to fuse things together to make something new.
So for you, the music you do is still
it's not high tech. I
about the basic essence of what psychedelic trance should be.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to have a label. That sucks. Labels suck, you know, in general. That guy is that thing. That guy is that thing. That label is that thing. No, it's.
I mean, the word psychedelic is this idea that it moves your mind or your soul. You feel when you do your music that you're doing that.
I think because we started with that label, that name of psychedelic trance, it got stuck to us in a way that this one didn't stick that well. Like, okay, I know, I like the format of high tech.
Megalopsy. Nicolas created his side project, Prisma, since the start of his music career. He always had an interest in pursuing other musical styles, and this project would take a big importance in his life. He would end up working with Martin as Prisma and Martin Boda and release an EP for Shaika Shaika, as well as working very closely with Dengue. On the trance side, Nicolas created Ziggurat as his solo project dedicated to more intense and experimental dark-psy. And after Abyssus became inactive due to the change in the lives of the Pandora's Box guys, he dedicated to breathe a bit of air back into it with a few remixes and works. Currently this project is very active and includes works from the Pandora's Box guys. Megalopsy would also inevitably become his solo project as his and Matthias' life change, and is currently dedicated to the more shamanic and slower side of dark-psy. The lockdown years also brought the opportunity for Nicolas to pursue his dream of doing a dark-psy media channel dedicated to interviews, research and analysis of the history of dark-psy. This channel, called Meeting of the Minds, would also be the first attempt to create a dark-psy documentary and media outlet. Releases. Dark Prisma would release compilations in the beginning done by Nicolas and Matthias, as well as many split and full albums from their artists. Frantic Noises, the Nordland Orchestra, featured many collaborations such as Audio Patak and Collapse, and as well as amazing artwork by Daniela Garza. VA The Void, Disintegration would be the first compilation done by Nicolas, including artwork by Martin Barbero and Boogeyman Media, as well as an amazing tracklist with artists such as Polyphonia, Encephalopathis, as well as local talent Pandora's Box and Will-O-Wisp. Via Bestiary was Matthias' compilation and included a beautiful artwork done by and full psychedelic roster including artists like Mubali and the local talents Will-O-Wisp, Pandora's Box, and an appearance of Nicolas as Prisma. After this compilation, Dark Prisma entered into an era of only split and full albums that included longer works of just a few or only one artist. Here we had the split album Akashic, Sonic Scissor and Glossalia called Blueprints, featuring an insane artwork by Boogeyman Media. This was one of the most advanced releases at that time and also indicated how close-knit the dark-psy community was at that time. Via Conundrum Concoction was a deep exploration into dark-psy influenced down-tempo by Prisma, Maloka and Durango. A split album that included a collaboration between all of them, as well as 3 tracks of each producer. This release would be very influential and popular amongst dark-psy lovers looking for something more smooth to listen to. Sonic Scissor's album titled Intergalactic Magic would be released in 2015. This solo album included artwork by Yos as well as the insane production of Sonic Scissor. This release would be his only work together with Dark Prisma, and he would continue his career as an independent artist. Frantic Noises Trance Nodrissa hit hard in 2017 with an insane artwork by Luminkea and mastering by Sonic Scissor. This included collaborations with artists like Paralox, Dirty Freak and Lab. This CD would end creating some unforgettable hits like Flaming Freddy featuring Bombax. Will-O-Wisp's Puzzle Symphony would be unveiled in 2017 featuring a beautiful artwork by and mastered as well by Sonic Scissor. This full-length solo album would be a groundbreaking release that would elevate Will-O-Wisp's career. Glossalia's The Nightly EP would drop in 2017 and would present his complex soundscapes that explored the deepest realms of hell as well as the crystal clear heavens. This high BPM, high-octane release would showcase Martin's more emotional and deep side, including an incredible outro in full UK garage style. This release would feature artwork by Fratel Metatron. Mysterian would be Gaston Will-O-Wisp's low BPM project and would be unveiled in 2018, presenting his new explorations that would eventually also give birth to Gizmo. This release also included artwork by Tania from Peru. Quantum Mechanica's debut album would be finally released in 2019 featuring collaborations with Ziggurat and Fratel Gauchos. 2013 to 2019 would be years filled with releases and tours and more tours. Highlights of this time includes Nicolas' first visit to Japan, and many tours of different configurations of the Gauchos around Europe, India, Brazil and Mexico. Around 2019, Dark Prisma would also reach as far as Morocco, Australia, Lebanon and Sri Lanka. Conclusion. Our start would also have only been possible by the support of our families, our friends, the psytrance scene in Argentina, and the support we gave to each other. We were lucky to be in Argentina in the 90s, and we were lucky to find each other in the 2000s. Through the internet and websites, we managed to create a scene together and change our lives. Thank you forever for all the people that were with us in the beginning, to the people that were in the forums, in the parties, in those insane moments. Our entry into the international scene would have not been possible by all the people that opened their doors for us. There are so many people we are grateful for that we do not know how to start. For every organizer that trusted in our music from 2004 to today, that dealt with our ups and downs, and showed us love and support. For every person that helped with a place to sleep, a ride to get somewhere, or just some advice and a warm moment while traveling. For all those that were there, you know it was real, deep, and those moments out of time simply last forever. Psychedelic trance was and is a magical place where dreams can be expressed and made true. It can also be a slippery slope that can leave you exhausted. It is up to each person to learn how to put together the right elements that will help them grow. It is still today that thanks to the trust that people gave us in our music and skills that we could get to where we are, and for this our gratitude is infinite. What about the fucking tunes? Dark Prisma still has gigabytes and hours of music in their archives waiting to be released, so the story is still not over. You can follow each of the Gauchos' solo adventures while we wait for the next shift to reconfigure. Stay tuned.
You are hearing what I am saying.
I truly believe in the idea of McKenna that we will wake up in the imagination, in the fifth dimension, you know, like in the dream will stop being different from reality. Or not. But who knows, man.